Hi Vanshika, how is your day going?
Hi Ashwin, hi folks. So happy to see so many people have already joined and very excited to be part of Out of Syllabus series on Twitter Spaces for sure. And I think I'm really glad for having this opportunity as well, to be one of the very first guest speaker here. So thank you so much for that.
I'm so glad that you're part of us here. I'm really excited for this. So, thank you everyone for joining us. Let me just introduce to this series called Out of Syllabus. The reason we call it Out of Syllabus is because we believe that there are quite some topics that you need to know, which is quite kind of not taught to you in academics, but is extremely essential in your career, be it tech or not. And that's why we are here to shortlist some of those awesome skills and things that you need to be know to ace in your career. And the first one that we thought is extremely important is meetups. Now, meetups is something you might have heard a lot, given that pandemic is opening up and you're seeing a lot of group fees around in Twitter. And if not, for those who don't know what is a meetup, I guess Vanshika can help us answer basically what is basically a meetup in the first place.
Sure. Yeah. First of all, Out of Syllabus happens to be one of the very amazing series, honestly, because I believe even if you're a college student or if you're a pass out, even right, you need to have the certain skills in your portfolio, to do something to prove and stand out amongst the crowd, right? So I think this series is going to be about all those kind of skills and how to be better at them. And talking about the community meetups, right? So let's I think I would start from the pandemic phase, right? We have seen so many events being virtual mode now, and now that we are returning back to the pre-pandemic phase, which is everything getting back to the normal, we can see that there's so many meetups happening right now. Now, to be very precise, meetup could be anything where you are getting your community together and they have a certain agenda to share. And this could be like an informal meetup as well, or if you are having a proper agenda, you can have panel of speakers. So let's say if Out of Syllabus is one of the community meetup that we are having in an informal way, because we do have panel speakers and we also have the certain way of the event flowing up in proper format. So I believe that even if we step up into the pre-pandemic phase, or everything getting back to normal, the hybrid mode of the events or the hybrid mode of meetups would never go away, because the plus point about these online events were that people were able to connect with the people around different countries, different places, and that really brought a lot of diversity in the community meetups. And talking about the offline ones, I think they are pretty fun to meet, the new folks, and you have really IRL experiences of life. So I think the mix of both is really, really good.
Yeah, I totally second that. In case I forgot to introduce Vanshika, because I believe that Vanshika needs no introduction. She is doing such a great work in tech. So Vanshika is basically a tech evangelist and educationist. She absolutely advocates open source startups and community growth. I've seen her almost everywhere that I have joined the communities. And the best part is she's not even from not a technical background, commerce, if I'm correct. So, which is a very great example that you don't particularly need a technical background to literally get started with tech at all. So yeah, that is Vanshika for us. She's currently working at a US-based startup called Viewer as a community and a product advocate, which helps in adaptation and growth. And that makes that makes her the perfect guest for tonight to talk about community meetups. So, in case you had any questions in the meantime, you can definitely drop it in the tweet that I have tagged it on the spaces right above here. In the meantime, let me talk about some meetup that is coming right away pretty soon. So, GitHub Field Day was announced today. For those who don't know, GitHub Field Day is an unconference. What it means is it is basically run by those who join that meetup, and it is basically a meetup of leaders, community leaders, and enthusiasts who are passionate about technical communities, want to clear some doubts, want to talk about how their communities are working, and get inspiration from other community leaders. So, Vanshika, what do you think about GitHub Field Day? Because last year it was a virtual meetup, but this time it is an in-person meetup in two cities. So, yeah, what could be like the advantage or the other thing?
I think so. When Get a Field India last year happened, I was the part of the event for sure, and I really loved the two concept that was introduced, which was the speed networking, and also you had a lot of these different rooms where you could join, and they had certain agendas. So like sort of like a breakout rooms. I think I would be definitely missing out these two parts when it would be happening in the offline mode, right? And it's happening in Delhi and Bangalore, and I think the applications would be rolled out by the next week. So if you are leading a technical community or even any kind of a separate community of product or such, that you can definitely fill out the forms, right? And the greatest part about being in an offline sort of meet and especially get a field day India is the exclusivity it offers, because not it's not open to everyone. Like, you are filling out the applications, and based on the experiences and what you can add in, as in if you join the meetup, and what value you would be able to add there, would actually makes a lot of sense here, because people want to be very very sure that if they select your application, what is something that makes you different from the other community leaders. So make sure that if you have done something really really cool, you add that in your application so that you stand out and you make it to the final the round for getting an invite to either of the places, which is Delhi or Bangalore, right? And yeah, I mean, it's going to be really good. But also, I just feel that the people who would not be able to make it either of these cities would miss out on this years of JFD India. Apart from that, I think it's going to be really really cool. Yeah.
Absolutely. I recently attended my first in-person meetup 3 days ago. That was GDG Hyderabad. And oh my word, it was so amazing. Let me tell you, everyone there was extremely friendly. We had amazing networking sessions. We made a lot of new friends, learned so much about tech. Free food, of course, lots of swags, of course, that's a given. So definitely, like, if you get a chance to do in-person meetup, definitely go ahead for that. I can talk about my experience at GitHub Field Day last year. So I made a mistake, all right. When the applications rolled out, there were a couple of essay-based questions, and me being a perfectionist, procrastinated so much, thinking about let me write the perfect essay, and only then I will submit it. So this is something a lot of students face. All right, you during the application phase, you want it to be the best until you submit it. Now, what happened in my case was I procrastinated so long that the deadline was passed, and I missed the field day, and I absolutely regret that. So, quick tip here is just don't try to procrastinate or perfect it way beyond that you can. I would say anything is fine as long as you're applying for it. Just apply as soon as you can. Don't think that underestimate your application whenever you get it, because meetups like this have a limit. All right, they have a capacity, so it may or may not be like based on a rolling basis who applies first or anything like that. So you need to keep that in mind when you're going for an in-person meetup. So I would say definitely if you're planning for a meetup, uh, keep in mind that they have a limited capacity. So apply as soon as you can.
Yes, I very much agree to what Ashwin you're mentioning, right? And also apart from that, as I was saying, when you have these essay-based questions, the idea behind putting these questions is to understand, number one, is that how much you are sort of into this kind of event. Like, do you want to make some kind of effort to stand out and be actually selected? And then secondly, whatever you are mentioning, right, they can always verify that, if you are working, or let's say even if you're learning and building in public, and if people know you somehow or the other, some people who are part of the ones who are selecting the applicants, and you have done really good work in the community, it would actually help you to stand out. So make sure that the essay questions makes actually a lot of sense here. And it's not about only GitHub Field Day India. I think even MLS fellowships and all these kind of programs have these kind of questions. So never procrastinate on that part if you actually want to step up from the community meetup point of view. And right now, I believe, so I am right now for some time in Bangalore, and I'm going into a lot of these events, and one of them was Solana, which is going crazy right now. And I think one thing that I really want to add here is that because everything is just like getting open, people are very, very crazy about, attending these kind of events. You have to be very sure about who you are networking with. This is one thing I realized when I actually started networking in person. It took a bit of energy out of me. Like, I had to recharge my social battery. I have no shame at all to accept that there were days I just wanted to be, at my place, and I do not wanted to have any kind of social interaction in an offline mode. So I gave myself that space, and I tried understanding this kind of emotion, or let's say state of mind that I was in. So I realized that because I was meeting so many new people, that I was also feeling overwhelmed. So you are transitioning from an online meetup mode to an offline meetup mode, and there might be times when you feel that there's too much of social interaction happening. So make sure you have a balance between them. Like if you're going out, you be very selective of the people that you want to be in touch with. You make sure that there is something that you can give back to them as well. It's not like you are just taking their numbers or you're just taking their contacts and you can use it later, because in that case, you would not actually have a good relationship with them, because the idea of these kind of offline events is that you get a really really good bond out of it, and that does not affect you professionally but also in your personal life, because you never know which person is going to add value in that, right? So this is one thing I really really want to put out, that make sure that you're not discharging yourself while you're meeting new folks. You have your time for your own, space and mind, and you're not letting your studies or your job, whatever it is you're doing right now, to hamper, because you might feel those kind of days would be there that you will feel dull and you do not want to have those interactions. And in that case, if you're in a public space, right, you would not be able to grasp what is happening in your environment. So that's one thing I really want to share here from out of my experience of offline events and meetup.
Yeah, I totally agree on that. I mean, do meetups, the point of meetups is they're supposed to be an icebreaker and help you like grow, but not at the compromise of anything that you have already given your responsibility to. For example, if there's a community meetup and it's clashing with your exams, please don't skip your exams to come to the meetup. I mean, meetups happen all the time. Even if you miss a one or two for your health or for your own responsibilities, it's totally fine. Uh, so yeah, I mean, definitely meetups are meant to be opportunity for growth, but not at the cost of something you already have. So keep that in mind. It's all right if you miss a couple of meetups. I miss meetups all the time. I see all the photos of so many of my networks having great time. But then when I'm available and there's a meetup available at the same time, I go and enjoy that. So keep that in mind that meetups are kind of meant you to refresh your networks and your growth. So don't take it too seriously. Now, since we are talking about the future of the community meetups, there were a couple of rumors or words like hybrid meetups. Now, I have never attended a hybrid meetup. Have you attended, or what are your thoughts about that, Vanshika? A hybrid meetup, something like going in person but virtually at the same time.
Okay, really good question. And I'm going to attach this particular question with the idea of metaverse. So, a lot of things that I'm seeing here, at least in Bangalore, that people are really, really, into this NFT and metaverse culture, right? Even today, there was event of Solana, and then it also kind of clashed for me with Namaste NFT, which is like more sort of metaverse kind of event. So, what is happening right now is that people are trying to bring this world of online and offline meetups. So, what happens is that there are two advantage of this. Number one is that when you are in an offline mode, right, things are more interactive and you can always get new stuff to do. Of course, it's like more different, and you don't have to be on Zoom all the time. I think everyone is so done with Zoom, so that's why there were other platforms that came into the picture. Even the Gita Field Day India did not happen over Zoom or something. Only the closing ceremony was there on Zoom. So, anyways, that is one thing to look at. And then, because the future of community meetup is going to look like sort of into metaverse, what would happen is that people will probably come into one single place and they would be probably connected to some kind of environment where you would be able to connect with the people outside the exact environment. And that would seem for you that it's so immersive that you're also meeting in person, but not exactly like you're not talking from person to person. It's right inside the environment. So, that is one thing that is kind of coming up, because people do not want to get away with this online version as well. The only good thing about the online events was that you could always schedule things. You could always make sure that what you want to go for and what you don't want to go for. And the cost of setup was really good. Like you do not have to pay a lot on the number of plates or the food and stuff, right? I think that's one thing going on right now, that people have got limited seats. So that time people could have unlimited seats for that, and you could just join it for free of cost. There was no extraordinary cost that was being charged by any sort of company or community. So that is one thing that I believe that is going to come up in few years.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely agree on those points. But here are my thoughts for a hybrid meetup. All right. I mean, if there's a hybrid meetup, that means one is running in person and the same being kind of live streamed two-way to a virtual. I think those who are joining as virtual, they definitely have a trade-off here. I mean, if you're joining as virtual, definitely you are missing out on couple of that human touch that you get of in-person meetup. So it's definitely like not on an even scale. I cannot expect that both of them will have the same amount of experience. So it's kind of a trade-off. with the numbers for sure, in person has a limited capacity, but if you keep it hybrid in some sort of way, you can increase that capacity while keeping the cost low, but at the same time the experience is there as a trade-off. So it kind of depends on the type of community event you are having, I guess. For example, I attended Hackmit, which was a hybrid hackathon, and yeah, definitely the experience was different. I joined as a virtual attendee, and I could see the offline events. They looked pretty good, so that kind of gives you FOMO, but at the same time I could participate in the hackathon. So it's kind of a complicated, I would say, like a thing that you need to think about. If you're organizing a hybrid meetup, you need to think about it. uh, Talking about hybrid hackathons, a big shout out to Karuna here in the space, who will be talking about that tomorrow on our YouTube channel. So keep that in your calendar if you're available. Now, with that said, let me. Okay, so I had some questions for Vanshika, because I myself am not super into meetups, the like into in-person meetups, because things are just starting up, opening up slowly in Hyderabad. Here, meetups are there, but they're taking some time, and that to combined with I'm a college student, so exams are there. If you're a college student, yeah, there are a lot of meetup opportunities for you, but keep in mind that academics is as important as anything else. So, Vanshika, I wanted to ask that a lot of students ask me that, they kind of get underwhelmed when I talk about meetups. They feel like meetups are not for them. So, are meetups only for like those who know everything about tech, or is it for open for everyone, for beginners and experts alike?
Okay, good question. And I think it would happen, right? Because what happens is that when you're actually getting introduced to a very new environment, or you are in college and you just suddenly have something to, something like that, you feel that the people you would be meeting, you have no idea what you're going to do there, how will you introduce yourself. And that's completely fine, right? Because you have to begin somewhere. You cannot sit back and be like, maybe once I graduate I'll do this, because if you do that, if you I cannot even call this procrastination, this is more sort of a fear. So if you let that fear come in with this kind of growth, it would be really difficult for you, because trust me, right, the amount of flexibility you might be able to get in your college years, like except on the exam times, or the days where you are like super hectic schedule, but some of the events actually happen on Saturday and Sundays, which you can actually go and check out and meet people, right? So if that's the case to do, and you wait for the other opportunity to probably show up, then you're going to miss out on a lot of things. I'm going to tell my personal experience. So I have not been able to go to my college yet because of the COVID, and I'm entering in my third year. I'm not even graduated yet. So this is the thing. Like, I still have not met my college friends in person. I've not met my teachers in person. I'll be probably going in July, but right now that's the condition for me. And technically, no events I could organize for my college, or no events that could happen from my college and as well, because that's like an international college in India. So a lot of problems with the COVID situation and everything. So that is how it happened for me. So if I just be like, I could never have a college experience in person, then I would not be able to grow up. So all I'll say is, if you feel that you have a good schedule, and no matter how it is feeling for you, like in the very first beginning, that I'm going to go to my very first in-person event, and this is not like from college side of things, just try to push yourself into this, because once you do it, you will not feel scared. Trust me. Coming to Bangalore city like this, like where everyone is talking about Web3, metaverse, like everyone knows so much things, and if you just start feeling like you let that imposter syndrome kick in, that will be really difficult for your growth. So you have to start from somewhere. If you're fearing that thing, do it more often. That's what I would say. And I don't even come from a technical community. So, I mean, like, sorry, the technical background. So for me, finding technical sort of events, and that too in my college, is really difficult. So I do not wait for my college to organize those kind of events. I try to figure out that if there are some, I'll just go to them and I'll try to learn from it. So that's what I'll recommend to everyone. Even if you're fearing it, just try to push yourself, because you have to start from somewhere. You cannot wait until you graduate and then you be like, I'm going to go ahead in my job. I should probably go and meet people, because you're going to miss out the phase, the learning phase that you have in your academic years. So, yeah, that's what I want to say.
Yeah, that is amazing. I mean, in short, you don't need any experience beforehand to attend any meetup, unless it's mentioned in that meetup. But most of the technical tech community meetups are absolutely beginner friendly. The whole point of the meetup is to connect those who want to learn to those who already have that experience. So it's basically a platform prepared just for you, so you can meet other folks who can help your solve your problem, at the same time you can solve theirs. So next time when you have a meetup, when you see a meetup opportunity and you feel like, can I do this? Maybe no friend of mine is coming with me, or maybe you feel like, okay, I'm going alone. I don't know if students will be there or not. It's totally fine. You can definitely join there. You can make friends in that meetup. They have amazing icebreaker and networking activities. Students are everywhere basically, but even if you don't find any students, I should definitely tell you from my experience, I found some amazing people in my GDG meetup this week, earlier this week. So definitely you should attend any meetup that you like. But if you're new to meetup, there are certain rules that you need to keep in mind. You see, meetup is not like college meetup, like when you do with your friends. There are certain rules that you have to follow because a meetup consists of people from various backgrounds. Now in college or in campus, or if you're a student, all of you have one thing in common, that you all are students, you all are major adults, or if you're high schoolers, you are minors. You have something in common. But at a meetup you will find a variety of people from different backgrounds, so you have to follow certain code of conduct to make sure that everyone is feeling welcomed in that environment, even if you're an attendee. So, I mean, that kind of brings me to the point of inclusivity and diversity, and just being friendly. I think Vanshika can help us elaborate on the part of what that actually means, because Vanshika herself is not from a tech background. So Vanshika, can you share your experience of what happens with people who are from different various backgrounds?
Yes, for sure. One thing to keep in mind when you're going to an event, or I mean the meetup, right? And it's not being organized by your college or some kind of very specific community, right? You do not have an idea about what kind of attendees you can actually expect. Have one thing, which is like always know what you're going to speak about yourself. Don't be like unsure that when you reach there and then you start seeing people introducing themselves and they're networking, and then you go like, I don't know what should I actually speak. Prepare that thing beforehand, right? Keep three things in your list that you would like to mention, and that should be like under 30 seconds max. Okay, so number one, like what are you doing right now, what are your experience up till now. Maybe if you feel that the reason why you would share experiences is that maybe there might be some common things that you can talk about, so always have that. And third thing is what you're going to work upon, probably the future aspects. For example, if I say that I want to probably dive into the cloud native ecosystem, right? So you can always say, I'm trying to start with this kind of thing right now, but if you do have an experience, feel free to share about some kind of tips. So be open to that. Always feel free to question when you feel that there's an opportunity you can get and learn from that. Okay, so always mention these three things out: what you're doing right now, what are your experiences, and why you are actually here. And third one would be like what you're going to work upon or what you have started working in. So if you find those people who are into the same space, instantly you can feel connected to them, and that would like calm yourself down, because you would not feel out of place. And trust me, there's nothing being like out of place. There's always, you can be from a diverse background, you can be someone who has a very different experience. People still ask me that you never went to college, your life experience is so different because you missed out on that fun. And I just say, you know what, it does not matter if you actually go and have that kind of fun, because college is good, you meet people, but then if you are able to make that thing up in a different format, like I met different people from different communities, I think the idea of going to college is fulfilled, for me at least, as long as you know that you are able to educate in an online way. And I think most of us are self-learned or self-taught folks, right? At least I am. So that's what I have done for myself. And the same thing, so for me, it was like I attended the very first event in a startup culture, which was here in Bangalore back in March. And I was like, this is so new to me, like networking and everyone is just going and talking about their product and all those things. So it took time to adjust, but then, once you figure out the situation and you're like, you know how to go about talking to people, the more often you'll do it, the more idea you'll get it. And all this, this fear and this question that, oh my God, what should I go and explain about myself to people, how they would think I'm probably junior to them. You don't have to worry about that, because the world is trying to be inclusive right now. And it's more important that you try to show that thing, that you are also open to this senior sort of ideas or this big sort of ideas also. If you feel like, I do not know, or you're fearing startup culture or something like that, right? If you try to shut people down there, you would not be able to understand and learn from their mistakes. So one more thing to do through these kind of events is that probably ask that what were the challenges that they faced, what were the mistakes that they made, and they would like to recommend. And people will be very much open to talking about them, because based on those kind of mistakes, based on those kind of challenges, they actually step up in their life. People have failed startups, people have failed their degrees also, and still, they make to a certain point of their life. So that kind of element can help you to figure out your situation sometime in the near future when you are actually in that kind of position. So these are the things that I would definitely recommend to for you to note down if you're making it to your very first in-person event and you want to, and you know that the crowd is going to be very much diverse.
Yeah. One more thing about diversity is that, if you're from a different background, if you're from a diverse background, something which is not in that meetup, I mean, not only you're welcome, it kind of also adds a different perspective to that meetup. It adds your uniqueness to that particular meetup. I mean, just imagine a meetup full of Android developers, all right, full of Flutter Android developers. Everyone is a developer. It's fun. It's nice. We'll enjoy it. Those who like Android, they'll enjoy it. But then at the same time, it can kind of become a bit boring, and those who are not Android developers may not feel as welcome as they are, right? So that's why, if you're from a different background, you kind of are adding certain value to that meetup, a different vibe to that meetup. So definitely do not hesitate that, this is a tech, this is something, I don't, I am not fit in this community meetup, I don't know that, or I'm not a student, can I attend this meetup? No, it's totally fine. Even if you're not a student, you're adding that experience that other students in that meetup require. And if maybe it's a meetup of all adults and you're a student, you're adding that value of a student, that the perspective that others need to know. So definitely uh, think about that. I also see we have someone amazing in the panel here. Hi Abhishek, can you hear me? I have approved you. Hopefully, uh, no idea when Twitter trusts me or not.
I think Abhishek is speaker right now, but we cannot hear him yet.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
As you were, by the way, as you were saying, Ashwin, right, that if you're going to a diverse crowd, I would say this thing: try to bring that thing that makes you different, right, or whatever you feel that is different about you. Try to showcase that even more often. Why? Because if you go like, even I'm in Angular, even I'm into this kind of ecosystem, or I'm coding into backend stuff and like that, right? Probably a lot of people would be doing the same thing. But what is different about your story? You have to highlight that thing within like 10, 30, 40 seconds that you're like, introducing yourself. So if you are from a diverse sort of background, or you are a student, or you're doing something different, or even if you have an experience with leading a community, shout out to that particular thing and tell that thing to the people that, I have done this thing, because that will help the other person to remember more about you. I used to feel so. I remember that when I began my journey on Twitter, like I just came here for getting more sort of lessons, I say. And 1 year ago, I was like still comprehending on a lot of my decisions, that whether I have made the right choice, how will I be able to make it up, and I kept on looking for answers, right, from community members, from leaders, and everyone. And people told me things, but and I tried using those kind of solutions as well for myself. But then I realized that everyone will have a different story. Everyone will recommend you things. You can always get recommendations. You can always hear out people, but then it's you who will decide what will work out the best for you. So there is no certain roadmap. There's no certain thing like if someone is recommending you a thing in offline event or meetup, right? And you have a question, they say that hey, you do this kind of stuff and you'll be able to make it. You might be able to make it up, but that's not like 100% assurity. So do not fall into that trap where you hear such kind of things and you just feel that this is the way to do it, because not everyone will have the similar kind of path. And this is the beauty about being different, is that you will find your own segment of things that will make you stand out of that crowd. So if you have something different from others, try to even show it out even more, because I remember I never used to talk about this kind of thing in public, that I was from a commerce background, because I thought people will judge me. But then I tried showing them why I chose commerce, why you went with a certain decision. If people cross question me that why did you went with this kind of stack, why are you being part of this kind of community, right? You should always have an answer to it. It should not be like only because number or thousand of people are being part of it, so you also want to be part of that crowd. So just make sure that you're able to point that thing out, that this is why you have done something which is making you sort of different from the others.
Yep. Okay, I got a nice question in the Twitter thread. Webhub asks how to know about meetups. Like when are they organized, and keep them in check. It's a pretty good question. Would anyone like to answer that one?
Yeah, so two things to mention. First of all, if you are part of technical communities and you would like to attend those kind of events, you will eventually get a notification through their Discord or Slack, right? But apart from that, if you want to go about trying out different other sort of meetups, which are probably informal or let's say from a startup point of view, like that, right? So there are two platforms that I have used for the discovery purpose. Number one is Eventbrite. I'll drop the links in that same thread of the question. So eventbrite.com, you can check out for a place, and then you can check out for the online or in-person event. And then apart from that, there is meetup.com. So these are the communities which are there on meetup.com. And they used to have these kind of events in an online board, but now they are also having these kind of ticket section. So you can always, if it's an offline mode, you can book a ticket. And I think there's third one also which people use, but this one does not allow you to discover events, which is Luma. So I think I'll even drop the link for that particular platforms. Let's say even the Solana event that is happening right now, it was posted on Luma and people made registrations through that. So I think three particular platforms to check out for the events that are happening in the certain week. And maybe you can check out Paytm Insider too, but I'm not sure that it would actually show up the event source section until it's a paid one. If it's free, then mostly you'll find it on Eventbrite and Meetup.com.
Yep, I use one of the best platforms for me called Twitter. I mean, but that really depends on the network that you have. But if you are in Bangalore, definitely follow Vanshika. She posts a ton of meetups happening in Bangalore all the time. I'm in Hyderabad, so Hyderabad meetups, I just keep that in mind. But yeah, Eventbrite meetups are amazing. I definitely check those out. There are some like proprietary places like Bevy for GDG meetups, and there are a ton of meetup uh, platforms where you can find all ongoing meetups happening on the dedicated Discord servers and things like that. Awesome. I see a couple of requests in the chat, and let's go ahead, and I'm going to open the panel for everyone. So if you have any questions and you want to ask them right now, go ahead and request it. Or if you feel like you don't want to unmute, but then go ahead and drop your questions in the chat. Let's take a couple of questions before we wrap up.
So, I don't really have a question. I just wanted to share my experience today. Today I had my first in-person meetup. So, if you would like to give me the chance, I would like to share.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, so, thank you, Community Last One, for giving me the chance to speak as a speaker here in this awesome Twitter space. So, I just wanted to share how how amazing the today's event was. You know, um, so there were mind-blowing speakers today. Um, we had great speakers. I hope you might know Aditya Oberoi and Manish Sharma, General Manager GitHub, and there was one more speaker. I don't remember his name, but he took a great session on JavaScript. So I just wanted to address this question asked by Ashwin to Vanchika a while ago. The question was, are offline meetups beginner friendly? Yeah. So trust me, they are definitely beginner friendly. And apart from the networking and fun, you get to learn a lot. I learned a new thing in JavaScript which I didn't know yesterday. So yeah, do attend offline meetup. If it's happening near you, or you can just make it easily. Yeah. And that was all. And there were tons of speakers. And you get to know new people which you have seen doing great on Twitter or great on LinkedIn or great in their life. And then if you see them in real person, you feel like, yeah, I want to be like them. I want to do great. I want to become a greater person tomorrow. So I think yes, you should definitely consider offline meetups. Yeah. Thank you so much, Ashwin, for giving me the chance.
That is amazing, Ayush. I definitely agree with you on so much of those points. Meetups definitely inspire me. When you see those amazing speakers, even though I was never a public speaker, then I saw a lot of folks from, as a student, I was seeing them, oh wow, they're students, they're speaking on such a great platform. I want to become like that. And that's truly inspiring. And yes, meetups are beginner friendly. Absolutely. You learn something. Even if you feel like you know a lot of things, you then learn something unexpected, something new, which is amazing. So yeah, that thank you so much for sharing your experience. I hope you really enjoyed. I had a great deal of FOMO on that meetup. A lot of amazing folks were there on that meetup. I see Dheeraj is here. Hi Dheeraj.
I just had a question that have you like would you like to share an experience where you had to go for a meetup which was not in your city, and what were you expecting? Like, were you nervous about different culture or just about the people will you meet there?
Okay, I cannot answer this because this has never happened to me, but anyone else?
I can answer that. So in the month of March, there were a couple of events that I was invited to, which were happening in Bangalore, and eventually it kind of, I would say, getting along with the month of April as well, because there was an event that my startup also wanted to organize, and I had to manage everything in India. So I mean, yes, I did not thought I would actually leave my own city to just go and attend those events, but I made a whole sort of an itinerary. So this is one thing, right? If you are going for a certain event in a different city, let's say you want to attend get a field day in India in Delhi, and you are from some place like, let's say, Pune or maybe Madhya Pradesh and all, right? And you have to travel there. So make an itinerary of that. See that what you can get the most out of that particular trip of yours. What I did was that when I flew here, there was definitely one thing that I had to attend, which is events and the meetups. But also I tried collecting a lot of information about certain areas of the city and about the people also. So all the people that I had known on Twitter, I tried getting their schedules, and if I could meet them in person to have that kind of Uh, let's say one-to-one on conversations. So this is one thing I'll recommend, that if you're flying somewhere for a certain event, it's going to be like a little intimidating that you're flying from somewhere and you're going to a very new place. But then try to make an itinerary out of it. Always start this kind of, I would say, planning at least a month ago, so that you know which location you would be staying and how you can get the most out of it. I made sure that I'm choosing a place which is right in the middle of the city, so that would be accessible for me to go to these events. Even if randomly I get to know a place, I can easily have a transit to that place. So that's one thing I recommend, that figure out your map situation, figure out the places that you will like to go and check out even. And also, if you are active on Twitter, or you might want to meet some of the folks, right? See if you can connect with other people and get on a lunch or so, and get to meet them in person. Apart from the meetup that you're going for, this will add a value to that kind of trip.
Yeah, I think that was really amazing. Obviously, the thing you mentioned about GitHub filled, and actually, the question was related to that only, as I live in Mumbai and I'm hoping to go there in New Delhi. So, yeah, that was, thanks for sharing that. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're going to fly to Delhi for that particular event, right? There are good folks that are staying in Delhi, and even like the I think the GFT developer group and all, right? You might know some of the people there, or you can probably start connecting to them right now, so that once you get selected, you have that good number of folks that you can connect with them in person. And of course, if you go to get a field day India in Delhi, you will be meeting them somehow. So yeah.
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Great points. Definitely, it will help me. Thanks, Vanshika. Because in 1 month, get a field day, I have to plan the same. But yeah, those that's a great tip to keep in mind. So, do you have any other questions here? If not, I have a very big question and very important one. I have been waiting for this one. Uh, so, Vanshika, and it's for anyone who is in here. I think a lot of you will relate with this. This is called fear of missing out, aka FOMO. Something which I started to have a lot since in-person meetups started. And how do you deal with a FOMO? So, would anyone like to answer this one? How do you deal with FOMO? When you see other people posting group fees, and you are just not available. It's not possible for you to attend meetups. Then how would you just deal with that fear of missing out, which could hinder your productivity? Anyone in the panelists would like to answer that?
Okay, maybe I'll take it up for this. Okay, so one thing to remember always is that there would be something or the other that you would always miss out. In no way it is possible for you to cover up for all the kind of events or all the kind of places that things are happening. So if you miss out onto some sort of events, right? The idea that you should have behind grasping, or like getting out of that FOMO, should be like, it's okay that you missed out onto that, but let's see what you can do in the next one, right? If you cannot fly to that place because of the examination, let's say like that, right? After examination ends, what is the next place, or what is the next event or meetup you would like to go? Think in that direction, because what happens is that if you start being like that, oh, I'm going to miss out this part, I'm going to miss out this kind of event. When you see another kind of opportunity, you will start fearing that you will miss out that one also. And in that case, you would not be able to give your best in that kind of meetup. Like, you will fear to meet new people, you will fear, how to go and introduce you about yourself, because that FOMO creates also sort of an imposter syndrome, and that starts telling you that, you're not good enough for these kind of events because you were not able to make it up. So one thing to look at, it is something or the other you would always miss. So if I start being like, I can also have a FOMO, right? That I missed out on my traditional day of the college, or I missed out on the 2.5 years of my college. And if I start thinking in that way, I'll not be able to grow out of it. So you have to take it positively that it's okay you missed out onto those, but how are you balancing it out? How are you balancing the absence of those kind of events? So let's say you were not able to make it to a certain event, but you can always, if you know that those were the speakers who came to that event, try to connect to them, right? It's okay if you couldn't meet them in person, but next time when you are able to go or meet them up and you're in that same city, just tell them that, hey, I missed out on that event, but I would love to catch up the next time we are together or there's some other kind of meetup. And this would also make them remember that, if there's a notification or there'll be another kind of event, they'll always share that with you. So have that open approach. It's okay to have FOMO, but do not let that affect. And that's something that will come from inside of you. So you have to remember that thing that you should not get affected by it to a certain extent. And that in your future scenarios, it sorts of like, thumbs up over you. So always remember that something or the another will be missed out from your life, and that's completely fine because you have to balance the absence of those kind of things in a different way.
That is amazing. Those are real tips. I definitely love that. Um, Totally agree on keeping the real part. I mean, you cannot just attend every meetup that is possible, and if you can't just, it's all right. There'll always be a meetup for you to attend, which will happen at the right place at the right time. Um, you can always connect with those who are in meetup even if you don't particularly attend them. I mean, I have never met Vanchika in person, but I am still in connect with her and so many other folks who are doing just amazing work, and that's equally likely adding value to me and to her likewise. So it's all right even if you don't attend a meetup. Just you know hang in there. The FOMO will just, it's totally fine to have FOMO. It's part of a human instinct. That's natural. I mean, it's kind of a hint that you really like communities, so which is a great thing. If you're having a bit of FOMO, which is totally great, that you want to be a part of this good community, you want to learn from it, and you will find your way eventually.
Ashwin, I
Yeah.
have another, community classroom related question. It's a fun question. So, when are we going to, see the offline meetup from community classroom?
Ooh,
Any
okay.
clue, any hint?
I mean, if I give you a hint, that won't be a real surprise, right? So I'll just let it on suspense for sure. I'm not gonna reveal anything now. I'm sorry, you have to wait on that one for sure. But great question. I totally like that.
So we have to be active on community classroom Discord and Twitter as well.
I'm not keeping it mandatory. If you're interested to learn more, if you're interested to find other folks, enthusiastic folks on tech, just share your knowledge or build your own personal profile, share what you learned, and all those amazing things. Definitely follow us. I mean, even I or Vanshika or Abhishek or anyone who has joined us has are not being paid for anything. We're just doing it out of total interest. We like doing community work. We love sharing our knowledge. So if you are something who likes that, definitely follow us anywhere that you like. But yeah, we have some awesome stuff coming for all of you that I can definitely promise. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And yeah, thank you, Vanshika, for taking your time and answering so many amazing questions here. So, this was Out of Syllabus episode 1, folks. We will see you again next week. Quick hint that next week we will be talking about how teaching you can make you a better developer. We'll have Kimberly Quick, the director of Code Bar, with us joining us. And till then, if you like this space, if you joined this, share what you learned. Tag Community Classroom, tag me, tag Vanchika. We'll definitely retweet it. We would love to share what you learned from this space. If you missed it out or if you want to show it to your friend, the recording will be available. Feel free to catch it up later on. Till then, see you next week. Have a great night. Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much, Ashwin, for having me. It was so great to speak here and answer amazing questions. And I just want to wish all the best to each one of you who's going to attend their very first, maybe whatever number NTH, meetup you're going to go to. Try to make the best out of it. Also, try to take care of yourself as well. And happy meetup and just have a great time. Good night and thank you so much.